All right, guys, happy Thursday. Today is actually Michael Jackson's birthday. He would have been 66 years old today. Now, I know that some of you guys are having flashbacks to your childhood, thinking about all that Michael Jackson and his music meant to you. But a great many more of you are perhaps thinking, but Candace, wasn't he a pedophile? The media, man, it is one hell of an entity. It really can have you thinking that the bad people are good and the good people are bad. So today, I am going to tell you the true story of what happened to Michael Jackson. What and who killed Michael Jackson? Welcome to Candace. Man, oh man, growing up in a black household, I will tell you, Michael Jackson is just required viewing. It's funny because I was asking people today, the crew, I was like, hey, you guys remember that movie, the Michael Jackson movie growing up? What was it called? And they had never seen it. And I'm going, oh, what do you mean you've never seen it? I've seen it so many times. I probably should be able to give you the script of it verbatim. The movie was entitled The Jacksons and American Dream. And as I said, this was required viewing in all black households. There's not a black person in America who did not see that movie. You also never forget the first time that you saw Michael Jackson moonwalk in your childhood, watching the movie, watching him moonwalk. Maybe some of you guys were actually alive when he did it in 1983. That was when he premiered it upon a Motown stage, dancing to Billie Jean. Let's actually watch that clip. You can just imagine people were just thinking, what did we just watch? This man is walking backwards. He seems to be defying gravity. I mean, he was just such a tremendous talent. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about him, remind you guys really rather a little bit about him, because there, of course, was no person perhaps on earth that was more famous than Michael Jackson was as a Hollywood celebrity. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29th, 1958. And as we all know, Michael and his brothers, Marlon, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine, formed a band in 1962. And Michael was the lead singer in most of their songs. Their father was at first hesitant, but then he agreed to manage the band. And they became the Jackson 5, and they signed to Motown in 1968. Now, the band was an instant success, and they gained fans worldwide. Again, like I said, you can't even imagine the level of fame that Michael Jackson reached even when he was just a small boy. Women throwing themselves at him, the young women older women throwing himself at this young boy. And it transformed him, obviously. And Michael stood out amongst his brothers because of his voice and just his tremendous star quality. I mean, I'm going to let you listen to him sing a cappella. Take a listen.
When I had you, I treated you bad and wrong, my dear, and God you went away.
That right there is just the creator force inside of somebody. And you can see why people were moved to follow him, to adore him. People really just loved Michael Jackson, and his singles quickly climbed up the charts. Eventually, as we all know, Michael Jackson decided to branch out of his band with his brothers, and he began pursuing a career as a solo artist, not sure how it was going to go, and it went very well. He especially hit it big in 1979 after signing with Epic Records. He released his album Off the Wall. The singles Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You shot to #1, and they're still actually amongst the most popular songs. And he won his first Grammy ever in 1980 for Best R&B Male Vocal Performance. Now, then came the album that no person could ever forget. Michael Jackson dropped Thriller in 1982, man. I mean, how many times did you watch this music video growing up? Everyone who followed Michael Jackson, I just thought it was the most amazing thing. This is artwork. He was putting on a real show for people, and it was just incredible to watch. And I just remember dancing in front of my TV screen, just trying to mimic Michael Jackson's dance move. I think I did a pretty good job, but no one could ever dance like the King of Pop himself. Thriller was an instant classic, arguably one of Michael's most successful and beloved albums. Thriller went platinum for the 21st time, and the Guinness Book of World Records certified it as the best-selling album ever. It has sold 70 million copies to date. 70 million people. So Michael himself had been in the public eye performing for 30 years, and he was nothing but adored. I mean, from his relationship with Princess Diana, Michael was everywhere, and it was just agreed that there would never be a talent like Michael Jackson. But then something happened in 1993, something very unusual given the fact that this was a man that was in the spotlight so much. It was in 1993 that the very first allegation came against him, made from a screenwriter in the industry. He was both a screenwriter and a dentist named Dr. Evan Chandler, who was based in Los Angeles. And his accusation was that Jackson had sexually abused his 13-year-old son, Jordan. Horrific. Now, how this came about was that Jordan told his psychiatrist that Jackson had molested him. And then the LAPD began a criminal investigation. But the investigation actually found no physical evidence against Jackson, and it was closed. The case was closed less than 1 year later. Now, that should have stopped the media from reporting on it. Michael Jackson wasn't guilty, but we know the media has never let facts get in the way of them having a good time. They broke the allegations worldwide, which led Michael Jackson to cancel the second leg of his Dangerous World Tour in August of that same year. And he cited health issues, health problems that were stemming from the stress of the entire scandal. And do you want to know what actually added to the stress? This is actually horrific. His sister, LaToya Jackson, came right out and she said, yup, Michael Jackson is a pedophile. But then something weird happened. She didn't provide any evidence. She didn't even attach that statement to a story. And when people prodded her about that, why did you say your brother is a pedophile? She admitted that it was her husband who had forced her to make that statement. Now, it's very strange. Who is LaToya Jackson's husband? Well, here's a photo of her with him. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Like Dr. Evan Chandler, this man is Jewish. I'm going to tell you why that matters as we get more into the Michael Jackson story. Her husband is a Jewish Russian immigrant, it says. His name used to be Jack Leon Gordon, and he then changed his name, also changed where he said he was born. He claimed that Las Vegas was his birthplace until he changed his name in 1981 to Samuel Isaac Gordon. And then he changed his name again in 1983 to Clifford William Johnson. And then he said he was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. Okay, this is all getting really weird. Why is this person changing his name so many times? And why is he pushing his wife to say that her brother is a pedophile? I mean, that's at least what LaToya Jackson said. And the story is going to get even stranger and stranger, making me think that we should maybe go back and re-examine his relationship, Michael Jackson's relationship, and with young Jordan and how these allegations came about. So let's do that. First and foremost, how did Michael Jackson meet little Jordan Chandler? It's actually kind of, the stars must have just aligned, literally the star being Michael Jackson. His car broke down on the side of the road. And he called the police. He was like, I'm Michael Jackson. Can you please come help me deal with this car? And they were like, no, actually, we can't help you deal with your car on the side of the road. And he made a bunch of phone calls. And then finally, somebody was driving by and they were able to help him. And that someone was an owner of Rent-A-Wreck. His name was David Schwartz. David Schwartz then gets Michael Jackson, tows the king of pop, could you imagine this, back to his shop and obviously calls his wife, and her name is June Chandler Schwartz, and he's like, literally the most famous person in the world is standing in our shop. You might want to get down here real quick. And guess what? June got down there real quick, and she brought her young son, Jordan, with her. And then the relationship was born. Michael Jackson, as so many fans were surrounding him at this wreck place, he began speaking to the little boy because he, I guess, felt uncomfortable about all the press. They had a conversation, and he felt that the family was just so kind to him that they became really close friends. He traveled around with Jordan. He brought Jordan's mother with him, took them everywhere, hosted sleepovers with Jordan, along with other young boys. Obviously, we all know about his Neverland Ranch, and our understanding of that up until this point was just that Michael Jackson always felt that he didn't have a childhood. And so he always felt badly for children and wanted them to have an experience, have a real childhood, and created a ranch to make that a plausibility. Like he wanted to create Disney Worlds forever for children. Then some things got kind of strange as you start to look into the story. You're going, okay, so they were friends. The media loved it. They referred to them as Michael Jackson's adoptive family. They loved the background story. And then apparently this kid's dad, Jordan Chandler, and to be clear, the person who picked Michael Jackson up and took care of his car was Jordan Chandler's stepfather. But his real father started going, I actually don't like his relationship with Michael Jackson. And that's interesting because then you find out that despite the fact that his real father, Dr. Evan Chandler, made these allegations against Michael Jackson, despite the fact that you learn that it was him that did this, Jordan Chandler, just a year later, decided to emancipate from both of his parents. So you're following me. He's 13 years old. His biological father makes allegations at the age of 13 against Michael Jackson, the king of pop. And a year later, Jordan Chandler moves to emancipate from both of his parents. In case you're not aware of what emancipation is, it's essentially you go to the court and you can say a variety of things. You show them that you have some way to make money and you say, I do not want to be the child of either of these parents. Literally emancipate me before I turn 18. And the judge grants that if they believe that there's enough evidence that you should be emancipated. He did this. Jordan Chandler did this. And it makes you wonder, like, how could you do this to your dad? I mean, like, your poor old man, that must have been a really tough decision for Dr. Evan Chandler to stand up to the king of pop and all his power and all his fandom and to say, hey, he molested my child and it wasn't on my watch. My wife is remarried. He shouldn't have even been having sleepovers. You would think that Jordan would adore his father for having done this. And then you find out that when he turned 16, he filed a restraining order against his dad because his dad tried to beat him with a weight. What's really going on? Well, certainly, again, like I said, at least it was courageous that his dad made these allegations against Michael Jackson, because this is sickening, it is disgusting, and it's not like his dad drugged him into making this sort of an allegation. Oh my gosh. Actually, he did. His father, Dr. Evan Chandler, did in fact drug his child into making the allegation about Michael Jackson. I'm going to read you directly from an article about what Dr. Evan Chandler did. It reads, on August 2nd, 1993, dentist Dr. Evan Chandler was extracting a tooth from his own son, Jordan, when he did something unusual. Under the supervision of an attending anesthesiologist, Dr. Chandler injected his son with a dose of sodium amytal, a barbiturate, although in pop culture it has sometimes incorrectly been called a truth serum. It is not normal to use sodium amytal to pull a tooth. In fact, it is a psychological drug with sedative and hypnotic effects. Totally normal situation to drug your child, to sedate him with a drug that produces hypnotic effects, and then to ask him, did Michael Jackson molest you? To which your drugged and sedated son says yes. That is the actual story about how this allegation came about. And once his son said yes, and he recorded that, Evan Chandler then demanded $20 million privately from Michael Jackson. He didn't go to the cops. He went to a lawyer. He said, I won't make this public if you give me $20 million. If you don't give me $20 million, I'm going to make it public. And Michael Jackson told him to kick rocks, allegedly. And then he had his lawyer go back and say, okay, what about if it's just $1 million? And by the way, at this point, it says that his lawyer was like, hey, man, but like, you know, if your son was molested, maybe go to the cops, right? Like, don't just have me negotiating with the king of pop. Like, you should go to the cops. And he's like, you just keep negotiating. Unbelievably. And during this time, he took his son to a psychiatrist. We love psychiatrists on this show. And he made his son describe graphic details of what Jackson had done to him, but didn't do to any of the other boys who were also present for the sleepovers. You know, Jordan's mother at this point, June Schwartz, she and her new husband thought, you know, I think maybe he could be telling some lies. My ex-husband, maybe he's not that honest of a person. And so Jordan's stepdad, a man named Dave Schwartz, decided to confront him, to confront Dr. Evan Chandler. And not just to confront him, but to record him speaking about what he was going to do to Michael Jackson and co. Take a listen to Dr. Evan Chandler, the dentist, in his own words.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief, and will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen. And beyond his worst nightmares, that's that one more record. This attorney I found, I interviewed several, and I picked the nastiest son of a bitch I could find. Once I make that phone call, this guy is just going to destroy everybody in sight. Any devious, nasty, cruel way that he can do it. And I've given him full authority to do that. It'll be a massacre if I don't get what I want. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want, and they will be destroyed forever. They will be destroyed. June is going to lose Jordy. She will have no right to ever see him again.
Yeah.
That's a fact, Dave. That's what's
Does that help?
Michael's career will be over.
Does that help Jordy?
Michael's career will be over.
And does that help Jordy?
It's irrelevant to me.
Oh, whether or not this helps his son is irrelevant to him. That man sounds like he is on a warpath. You think that's crazy? Well, it's about to get even crazier. Do not go away after a brief message from one of our sponsors. Hang on. All right, you guys, with a cliffhanger like that, you likely will not be able to sleep until I finish the story. But don't worry, there is Beam in case that is the case. Here's the thing about sleep. It's the foundation of whole body health. When we sleep well, our minds and bodies perform at their best. Good sleep is both mental and physical, and our daily performance depends on it. Beam's science-backed dream powder is tested for high-quality efficacy and formulated to ease your body into rest, supporting all 4 stages of the sleep cycle to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of 5 key ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. This blend helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. Right now, my listeners get a special discount on their healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. You just mix Dream into hot water or milk, froth, and enjoy before bed. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Candace and use code Candace at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Candace and use code Candace for up to 40% off. Better sleep has never tasted better. So back to Evan Chandler, Dr. Evan Chandler, who definitely did drug his son into a confession. Does that count as MK Ultraing your son? I don't know. It's interesting, and it sounds like he doesn't care. His son is irrelevant to him. Maybe that's why he wanted to emancipate away from his crazy dad. And if you want an even crazier update, Evan Chandler, the person who started this initial allegation, he's no longer with us because he was suicided. He committed suicide in November of 2009, just 5 months after Michael Jackson was overdosed. Yeah, Evan Chandler shot himself in the head. There were absolutely no witnesses. There was no note, and he was found by his building concierge. That's just a fun little update for you. But back to Michael Jackson, because even though, like I said, that never went through, they dropped this case in less than a year. The media kind of saw that there was this squeeze on Michael Jackson, but then they let it go. There were no more allegations against Michael Jackson until almost 10 years later, when suddenly there was an explosion of allegations against Michael Jackson. And I want you to remember that year, 2003 is when it began. It began when a boy named Gavin Arvizo accused Michael Jackson of child abuse, saying that he was under 14 at the time of the alleged crime. The singer was then charged because of this allegation with 7 counts of child sexual abuse and 2 counts of administering an intoxicating agent. What does the public actually remember from that time? What do you remember from that time? Well, we remember that Michael Jackson was wacko jacko, that he was crazy, that he was addicted to drugs, whatever his doctor was injecting him with. Here are just some of the headlines: wacko, jacko, backo, jacko, sex raid, wacko, jacko, on the attacko. This is like seared into my memory. I'm sure it's seared into your memory as well. This is what I remember. And I also remember that he was anti-Semitic. Yeah, there were headlines calling him an anti-Semite, saying that he hated Jews. And by the way, they had evidence because, so weird, but his doctor who overdosed him also recorded Michael Jackson while he was also clearly sounding like he was high on drugs. Maybe his doctor gave him drugs and then spoke to him. And somehow this recording this conversation between him and the doctor made its way out into the public. And yeah, it's a fact. In the conversation with his doctor, he referred to Jews as leeches, said that they were trying to take everything from him. And then he was labeled worldwide as, like I said, not just crazy, but also an anti-Semite. And that is just not what you want to be called in the press. It was then revealed that Michael Jackson kept an enemy list on which he had Tommy Mottola, along with, I'm not kidding you guys, Rabbi Shmuley. Yes, that Rabbi Shmuley. He had him on this list, and Rabbi Shmuley then, after Michael Jackson died, then released recordings of him that he said Michael Jackson definitely wanted him to do, even though he was on this list for Michael Jackson. Also, illusionist Uri Geller, attorney Gloria Allred, the one that we associate with all the Me Too cases that have been taking down a lot of men. He also listed the DA, Tom Sneddon, and Janet Arvizo, the mother of that accuser, Gavin Arvizo. By the way, when you have spare time, you should look up Janet Arvizo. You should look up how many celebrities, I mean, I'm talking to everybody from Jay Leno to Chris Tucker, who have spoken out about that family and have accused them, many people, of intentionally being fraudulent. I'm just giving you the facts. You can look that up in your spare time. But this was his list. He had a list of Jews who he said were trying to ruin his life. But we don't really remember that part. We don't remember even that Michael Jackson, despite all of those media headlines and being accused of being a pedophile, he actually won his case. Yeah, despite 10 years of investigation, no proof was ever actually produced. I'm going to allow Ian Carroll, one of my favorite TikTokers, to explain that to you. Take a listen.
The FBI were investigating Jackson for 10 full years, and they presented no evidence of criminal conduct on Jackson's part. The files have been declassified and you can view them yourself. They include a raid of his home where they confiscated all electronics. This is their ID number that you'll see. We're talking computers, hard drives, cell phones, where they say the amount of gigabytes. And then following are pages like this where they have the ID of the different devices and they all say nothing. Literally, they all say this. They found nothing. But that didn't stop the press from running made-up stories about how secret FBI files revealed that Jackson had paid millions in hush money to dozens of boys he had abused, despite the FBI files directly negating that statement.
Well, that is an absolute fact. Michael Jackson was acquitted on all counts on June 13th, 2005. But of course, despite the fact that a jury acquitted him, despite the fact that the pop star had been vindicated in a courtroom, we know that's all about the media. It's all about what the media writes. The media tells you what a person is, irrespective of whether or not they have any evidence of whether the person is, in fact, what they say he is. That's the power of the mainstream media. Michael Jackson himself insisted that he actually was the victim of mother and son con artists, plus a prosecutor who had a vendetta. But a vendetta about what? And also, can somebody explain why he decided to, at the end of his life, become an anti-Semite, become a Jew hater? Oh, actually, yeah, Ian Carroll can explain that portion again, too. Take a listen.
When you look into those allegations or those insults, you realize that because of his will that was probably fake and filed right before his death. So the will was signed on July 7th in Los Angeles by 3 witnesses. But Jackson's family pointed out that he was in New York that day, and there's video proving it. So they changed their story. But the witnesses definitely saw it, and it was just in New York. So anyways, because of this will, John Branca was put in charge of his estate, which included his net worth of $230 million, but far more importantly, his 50% share of Sony ATV worth $750 million. Yes, he was taking on Sony. He was going after the hand that feeds him. And when you look into John Branca, in 2003, Jackson fired Branca because he was siphoning money out of Jackson's accounts in collusion with Sony Music CEO Tommy Mottola and funneling it through a bunch of offshore accounts in the Caribbean. John Branca is Jewish, and Tommy Mottola is also Jewish. Plus, Tommy Mottola married Mariah Carey partway through his life when she was a young woman, and he was an old man. And there are other allegations about that whole situation you can look up on your own.
Yeah, so there you have it. Michael Jackson went to war with some very powerful people. And I don't know why, but I guess in his will, he wanted to leave everything to those very powerful people. He, as Ian mentioned, went after Mottola, Tommy Mottola, very powerful person in the industry who has connections, according to Vanity Fair, to the mafia, right? So we're talking about some people that could do some real harm. When you read that article, I advise you do, called it's entitled Tommy Boy, to learn about his history. And really, Michael Jackson was outwardly talking even about the things that Mottola had done to Mariah Carey. He referred to Tommy Mottola as the devil. Like I said, he's not the kind of person that you want to go to war with. And not only that, Michael Jackson had the courage to call out how record companies cheat their artists. He wanted to stand up for these small guys and say, we cannot allow these sorts of things to go on anymore. Take a listen.
Record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists. Sony, Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
That clip was from 2002, his declaration of war on the industry of people who he was alleging was intentionally stealing and selling artists short, and who he no longer wanted to work with because he wanted to be a free agent. He wanted nothing to do with these people. And as Ian said, he was fighting this war privately and he was winning. At least he was winning it in the courtroom. But as I said, the courtroom doesn't dictate wins, does it? In that measure, everything that he was doing was really all in vain, because he is now remembered as Wacko Jacko, a title that was created for him in the mainstream media that really hurt him. In fact, he sat down with Barbara Walters and spoke about how much that name hurt him. Take a listen.
You should not say he's an animal. Should not say he's Jacko. I'm not a Jacko. I'm Jackson. I have a heart and I have feelings. I feel that when you do that to me. It's not nice.
After the trial, Michael Jackson stepped away from the spotlight, and then it was reported, because having fought all of these lawsuits, that he was on the brink of bankruptcy. I want you to think about that. I want you to think of a person who once sold 70 million records, made Sony extremely rich, that at the end of his life, he was on the verge of bankruptcy and had faced closure on his Neverland ranch. And he never did, by the way, return back to Neverland. In 2009, he announced that he was going to put together some comeback concerts, and there were rumors about his financial situation, but the concerts never came to pass because, well, we know Michael Jackson, unfortunately, died of an overdose that was administered to him by a doctor. No one was there other than, the guy that you're supposed to call if you get into trouble with Diddy. We've spoken about that in a past episode. Fahim Muhammad, and of course, Dr. Conrad Murray, who basically got a slap on the wrist. A doctor from the Virgin Islands who got a slap on the wrist, had been leaking phone calls. And I don't even believe, and you can fact check me on this one, that he's even had his medical license removed. I think he's still practicing back in the Virgin Islands. Again, I'm pretty sure that's the last thing that I've read on it. So that is the story of Michael Jackson. His death was ruled a homicide. And in 2011, Conrad Murray was found guilty, was allowed a cell phone in the slammer while he was in there. Really strange. And then, like I said, he was released back into normal life as if nothing had happened. So what do we say to that? Well, it's interesting because what happened to Michael Jackson could never happen today, right? Back when all this was going on in the early 2000s, the media ran things. They completely controlled our minds. I, too, was warped to believe that Michael Jackson was a pedophile, and not that Michael Jackson had picked a fight with some very powerful people who have a leg in the media, who can make things appear and make things go away with the snap of their fingers. And since then, there have been a lot of artists who have tried to speak out about this type of mafia behavior, where if people don't get what they want, they will take everything from you and ruin you. To turn the king of pop, to leave him desolate and broke at the end of his career, is a crime. But, here's the thing that I will say. They can lie, they can steal, they can deceive, but they can never create, because these people do not have the creator force within them, because Michael Jackson was right when he said that these people are devilish. All they can ever do is try to dissuade the masses via lies, and to go to sleep every night knowing that you are a liar, that you have no creative force within you, that you will always have to steal from people who actually do have talent. You will always have to lie about people who actually do have that creative force. That's a sad eventual ending for those individuals as well. And so Michael Jackson, they may have taken your money, they may have for a short term impacted your reputation, but there are so many of us in the world who now recognize the truth of what happened to you, and we have platforms and we have voices too, and we will continue to hold a candle for the King of Pop. Happy birthday, Michael Jackson. Is this a good time to talk to you guys about finding an honest doctor? Because I know that a lot of us struggle to find one, especially today with Big Pharma. It can just feel impossible. That's why millions of men and women have turned to Native Path and their vast selection of high-quality nutrition products. Native Path was created by a Texas doctor of physical therapy who discovered how poor nutrition was linked to many of the health issues his patients were dealing with on a daily basis. Their original collagen peptides include a unique protein that naturally declines with age and is proven to significantly increase bone strength and soothe joint pain. It minimizes wrinkles and cellulite, enhances hair follicle thickness, and even reverses nail damage, with users reporting results in as little as 2 weeks. As a partner of the show, Native Path is offering my listeners up to 45% off their bone, joint, and ligament restoring formula. Native Path has thousands of 5-star reviews and over 4 million jars sold. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so there is no risk to try it today. Listeners can visit nativepath.sale/Candace to get up to 45% off while supplies last. That's nativepath.sale/Candace. There was another person in the music industry who spoke out about gangs and saying that he was having his entire life taken from him and that he just wanted to be free. And he also was crazy and anti-Semitic. Wow, that is a trend. Must be a trend. We can cut to this clip of Kanye West.
Drove me to a point of exhaustion, which was misdiagnosed by I'm not going to say what race, what people, doctor, and what hospital, and what media it went to. We know I can't say that. It was a Jewish doctor.
Kanye, I don't know what he's doing out there. Like I said, crazy anti-Semitic, has not yet been accused of being a pedophile, but we'll just wait because the media can drum up essentially whatever they want. And that's exactly what has been happening to me. So you're not going to believe this. Yesterday, I was informed by some reporters who have a soul that the ADL sent around what effectively should be deemed a hit list, like went to reporters and basically said, here's everything you need to know about Candace Owens and here's how you can attack her. And they put me up on their website. Now, just to give you the background of this, the ADL has been orchestrating all of these attacks on me and their huge network of journalists, their never-ending budget, because I, at first, attacked them for defending a convicted pedophile named Leo Frank. And I don't feel sorry about that. I just do not care. So now they're pretending that I said that Judaism was a pedophile-centric religion. Definitively never said that, but who cares? Like I said, we don't let facts get in the way of a good time. And so they've sent these talking points to journalists around the world, and that's not it. So they have me listed that I espouse conspiracy theories related to the LGBTQ plus community, that I've downplayed the impact of slavery and racism on the Black community. They have where I used to work at, where I'm going. They also, my understanding is they mentioned in whatever email went out, my advertisers. And you're not going to believe this. Lo and behold, I woke up today. So this email that they sent out went out yesterday. I woke up today with advertisers telling me that they were getting specific emails from people. This one was written by a man named Adam Goldman of the NYU Review. Hope this finds you well. My name is Adam Goldman. I'm the chief editor of the NYU Review. Does Gold Coast still sponsor Candace Owens? Because Owens has recently suggested that elements of the Holocaust may be propaganda and that a cabal of pedophile Jews are controlling the world. Her actions have been widely condemned by Sarah Carter and Gad Saad and countless others. Does Goldco agree with the sentiments espoused by Owens? Let me know as soon as possible. So just so we're clear, you guys, when people are describing gang-like behavior, this is what they are speaking about. So what's actually transpired here is at first it came, Rabbi Shmuley and the threats for me to get fired from where I was working. And then when that was achieved, they were like, okay, we've won. And then I rebrought my show back and they were like, wait a minute, why are people still listening to her? We've already smeared her and we called her an anti-Semite. People, why are her views so high? We're going to have to go harder. And then when they realized that going harder only made people realize how dishonest they were, people are watching the show and they're watching them lie in real time, they hatched up their third plan. So their third plan now is, how does Candace Owens make money? That's the question. They've sat down in some room, they've asked a question, and somebody said, well, she makes money on YouTube. And so you're not going to believe this. This account called Awesome Jew started saying to people, let's start mass reporting her YouTube channel. And he said this after I dropped my Tristan Tate interview. And he showed a step-by-step guide of how to fake report my account. Here it is. You can report, even provided a link. You can report her YouTube channel here. Because now they're like, okay, well, we can't get rid of her. Look at this. This is incredible. But you go down and hit hate speech against a protected group. Do this to the Tristan Tate episode and we'll get it taken down. We're just going to start mass reporting her so that people can no longer listen to her show. And you're not going to believe this Tristan Tate interview. We actually did the right thing and we asked YouTube to manually review it before it went out. YouTube manually reviewed it as soon as it went out, and they came back to us and they wrote, your video is suitable for all advertisers. Amazing. But that was before this awesome Jew decided to inspire people to mass report. And then yesterday we got an email from YouTube saying, oh, forget the part where we reviewed it. We removed your content with Tristan because it doesn't follow our community guidelines. I want to show you guys this in real life because I think it's important to go through this sort of a thing because it creates a legacy. It allows people to understand what's actually happening in this world. Michael Jackson, when he was alive, like I said, didn't have the blessing of podcasting. He didn't have the blessing of independent journalism. And so when you made the mainstream media people upset, that was it. It was over. They created a narrative. But you guys get to watch this in real time. So they said, okay, that's one way. YouTube, we're going to start mass reporting her account, and then we are going to go after her speeches. I shared a couple of days ago that Barry Weiss's writers, who have not stopped consistently first trying to wacko-jacko me, Barry Weiss came out and was like, Candace is unhinged, and they're doing the exact same treatment. Candace is crazy. She's lost it. She's got, what did someone diagnose me with, like postpartum psychosis? One of them was pushing. And so Barry Weiss then had another reporter, and I know his last name is Rubenstein. I'm forgetting his first name. It might have been Adam Rubenstein, but I'm not sure if I'm guessing here that it's two Adams. He came out and was working on a hit piece, didn't even contact me, and was essentially just trying to put pressure and rumor in the air to pretend like I was getting dropped from speeches, because that's what they want to happen. They don't want me to earn any income at all, which explains why when I showed you last week that they even used their anti-defamation arm in Australia to lobby politicians to get my visa denied. Like, she can't travel. Like, she's a criminal. She can't travel to make any money overseas and to give speeches. And this is how they started this like fake Holocaust denial narrative. It's very important for you guys to recognize this. I want to add my voice to people like Ye, like Michael Jackson, who have had the courage to stand up to this sort of a mafia that are lying and attacking you, lying on your character day in and day out, and doing it with the audacity of accusing you of being a hateful individual simply because you won't kowtow to their narrative. And it doesn't matter what that narrative is. For Michael Jackson, it was about Sony. Right? It was about his shares in Sony. For Kanye, it was how dare you speak out on what was done to you, when he started saying he was going to start naming people in the industry that were doing stuff to him. And he did name people, and nobody cared, even when he showed evidence that Harley Pasternak threatened to drug him and send him back to La La Land. Nobody cared, because the media is not there to protect Kanye. They're there to protect Harley Pasternak. He's in the in club, right? And now with me, what was my crime? Well, I don't agree with Bibi Netanyahu. I'm not like the scores of other America First conservatives who will fall over themselves and allow Bibi Netanyahu to spit in their figurative faces and speak about America like we are a worthless slave colony that exist only to do the bidding of Bibi Netanyahu, that we have no right to critique anything that he says. You want me to believe that that guy's a victim? I just don't buy it. And so they have been swarming like hornets, and they are hell-bent on making sure that we cannot speak, that we do not make any money. And like I said, I thank God every day for the platform that I have. And while I have it, I am going to awaken the masses, because it's happening to too many Black people for me to be comfortable with. Too many Black artists who are talented, who come out, and when they're existing within a corporation, they're adored and they're applauded. I mean, I'm out there speaking about Black Lives Matter and everything that Black Lives Matter is doing that's wrong, the criminality, the gangs that are operating and pretending that things are about racism when in fact there are valid critiques being launched against these gang members. And that media said, go Candace, we love you. We want you to do more of this. We want to fund this. And then those very same people, at the minute that post-October 7th, we were commanded to all pay attention to what was happening overseas. When I said, wait, actually, I don't agree with this many children dying. I don't agree with any of this. Then flipped, did a complete 180, tried to wacko Cando me, tried to pretend that I'm completely illogical and coming apart, because how dare I question what they assert is the narrative. So that's where we're at, and I think it's important for people to be aware of what's happening in society. And like I said, I will continue to use my platform to speak about that. Guys, as a final throw to American financing, obviously interest rates have dropped, and right now is the perfect time to call my friends at American Financing. They're a family-owned company that is helping people just like you create meaningful savings every single month. Their salary-based mortgage consultants look at your full financial picture, including those frustrating credit card balances where you're paying upwards of 20 to 30% in interest payments every month. They work with you to create a loan program to wipe that out, and in some cases, have some cash left over to create some emergency savings. American Financing is a true partner in helping you and your family save money. They never charge any upfront or hidden fees. It costs you absolutely nothing to find out how much you can save. Their average customer is saving over $800 a month, and if you start today, you may delay 2 mortgage payments. So call 800-795-1210. Again, that is 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. I like to credit myself for being so calm and not vitriolic and not commanding people that follow me to attack them in the same way. I do believe that the high road is going to win in the end. I do. When people say, well, why don't you sue the ADL? Why don't you do that? First off, these people have unlimited funds, and that's what they love. They love a courtroom fight. These people love the idea. I mean, you've got judges and you've got DAs. It's funny that Michael Jackson was listing a DA prosecutor they said was after him that are seemingly on people's payrolls now when you see everything that's happened to Donald Trump. And I think the best thing you can do is to use your God-given voice and to use your God-given platform and to continue to build in the end until we all own our own stuff. And that's why I am just tremendously grateful to all of you guys for supporting the show on Locals, because now I am not owned by anybody but the people. That's the truth. And when I let the people down, there will be no more Candace Owens. And until that day happens, they don't really have any power over me. By the way, I wanted to show you guys before we end this episode, this headline. Literally, I just think it was created by ChatGPT. Somebody went to ChatGPT and they said, give me a headline, produce me a headline that will really make Candace Owens angry. And then they said, okay, here it is. And it's a headline from CNN, which you may have seen me tweet earlier, that they have agreed to a temporary ceasefire in Gaza so that they can give them polio vaccines. I'm not kidding. They've decided, after the entire global community has pleaded with them, given the amount of death of Palestinian children, to stop. Well, they said, no. But then, because there's nothing bigger than Big Pharma, they've agreed to pause the infighting in Gaza for polio vaccination. You couldn't get me. I mean, there isn't a sum of money. You could actually offer me $10 billion plus the entire Gaza Strip, and I would not put that vaccine in my arm. Oh, yeah, definitely trust the science here. Definitely inject your children. Like, it confounds the mind. I mean, it just completely boggles the mind here. Like, you don't care to stop so that kids stop being killed in bombs, but you agree to stop because you claim you care about the kids who definitely need the inoculation, that they don't need like homes and basic sanitation, but they need an injection. It's an absolute madness. I mean, it's just completely crazy. And I had to show you guys that headline before I jump into your comments regarding this episode. Okay, let's read some of them. I'm going to jump first to the super chats. Dragonfly writes from Norway. It's not dollars, but respect to Candace and Michael. Nicholas Grimmy writes, Candace, thank you for following up on Diddy. By chance, have you ever looked into Jaguar Wright? She's been a whistleblower of Diddy and the industry since 2019. Please watch her interviews on YouTube. No, I have never heard of her, Nicholas, and I will check her out. Amanda Kasperzik writes, I love you so much. I found you a couple of months before they took you off the Daily Wire. You are my source of news that I watch every week. Not all heroes wear capes and speak truth. Thank you so much, Amanda. That's really kind. And I'm always happy that people are finding me wherever they are finding me. And again, I owe my platform to each and every one of you for sharing also my content. Like just when you take these links every day, something that you can do to be a Candace warrior is to just share these podcast episodes on your social media channels and tagging me in it too. I also love being tagged and seeing you guys actually watch it. LA Wizard writes, I mentioned MJ a few weeks ago and I'm so happy you're doing an episode of him. Thanks for talking about what really happened with Michael Jackson. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to, because when I learned it, I was really, obviously I was young, but I was disappointed in myself for having believed everything about someone who was, you have no idea what this man meant, especially to Black Americans, and how quickly we allowed the media to allow us to turn our backs on him. Like the media had power over us to turn our backs on somebody who gifted us with so much. And I won't make that mistake again. It's why I didn't do it. With all the bait in the world, I didn't do it to Kanye, because the media has no control over me. Valerie writes, Michael wasn't technically my generation, but I've always loved his music, and I have been telling people for years this was all a lie. Good to know I am now not alone on this, though. Chase writes, hey, Candace, thanks for awakening me, to God and lies. Could you please do a history channel? I feel like that would wake my friends up to the lies as well. I am planning that. I've said this. My goal for next year, it's not a goal. I'm going to make it happen because goal makes it seem like it's like in the distance. I already tweeted it, so it has to happen. Me and Dave Smith, I want to do a series, 10 to 15 episodes of me and him just discussing various things that I think any parent would just want their children to know about things that have happened in this world outside of what they're learning in a classroom, which is pretty much just a fairy tale, believing that we were righteous in every war that we fought and that we absolutely had to give our tax dollars to. And it's a nonsense, and people need to realize that it's a nonsense, and that America has a very checkered history, and in my view, a very checkered future if we don't wake up to it. All right, Rose, lastly, for the super chats, writes, Candace, can you bring Bassem Youssef on your show? Let me be clear. I have tried to get Bassem Youssef on my show. I reached out, mutual friend, said, hey, will Bassem do it? And he never got back to me. I think he big-timed me. I think it was big-timed with Bassem Youssef. I don't know. So I don't know if you guys have access to him, you want to mean tweet him and be like, hey, why'd you big time Candace Owens? She's trying to get you on her show, because people were saying, Candace, you've had so many Zionist voices. How come you won't have any truly Palestinian voices? Like, you've had Dave Smith talk about Palestine, but why not have an actual Palestinian? And I know actually Bassem Youssef is not Palestinian, right? I think it's his wife that's Palestinian. But I think that he's very respected in the community as a voice to speak about what's happened to his wife's family. I've tried it. I am open, like I said, to speaking to everyone. And I just have not been able to get in touch with him. This person says we may need a reality check. We may need to really know what happened to Whitney Houston. Yes, I have peripherally looked into that, and it's tale as old as time in terms of intentionally getting tremendous talents addicted to drugs. And I just am wondering, how many times can someone die in a bath in Hollywood? Just asking a question. Just asking questions here. How many times can someone die in a bath? Like, is this like a thing? Like Whitney, her daughter, that guy from Friends, Matt, I can't think of his last name right now, from Friends, who died in a bath. Aaron Carter died in a bath. His last tweet was to Kanye when Kanye said, I'm about to go DEFCON 3. Aaron Carter then tweets, hey, we should link up, when he started talking about Harley Pasternak. And then the next day he died in a bath. I don't know. It's just like, I want to be clear, guys. I do not take baths. Okay, like I am a shower girl. Anything happens to me in a bath, no. Okay, Anyways, you guys, we are going to wrap this. Thank you again. If you can, please go to locals.com and give what you can to support the show. Also know that we are working on a platform in the event that these attacks work and these coordinated harassment campaigns work and they start giving me strikes on YouTube. We are quietly building a platform in the background as well with the money that you guys have donated thus far to Locals. It's been a major pull to get this done. And it's probably going to take a couple more months and we're going to put a shot in the dark on it. So just give us some time to be patient. And thank you guys. Head to clubcandace.com if you want to buy a Standis cup. Love you. And we will see you tomorrow because I have a really amazing interview with Xavier Poussard, the journalist who broke the Brigitte Macron has a dong story. We'll see you guys tomorrow.